You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Davidson alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian,
and Keith Cheatham. Guys, I've got something to tell you. In the midst out there,
I don't think I'm on.
Oh, you're on.
Am I?
I think it's just a little faint. I don't know why. Hold on. I think maybe it's because of what's going around right now.
You sick? You can't be heard?
Can you?
You got that corona? I think we all have corona.
I think we're all self-quarantining now at Red Moon because I think we've all got it.
Yeah.
Oh, Keith, you've got something there.
We've all got corona.
We all have it.
It's terrible.
We all have the corona right now.
Terrible.
All right, how many times has this meme been played out on social?
They're not
To
very
be honest,
good
though,
I mean, the lime helps a little bit.
It tastes
okay.
mostly like
it's
mostly water.
Yeah.
With a hint of lime,
lime is
a
okay.
hint of, it's not even that hoppy, honestly. I was going to say a hint of hops, but there's really no hops. So
honestly, if I was on a beach
somewhere,
this isn't the beer that I would choose.
I don't know. Sometimes when it's hot, like really hot, like I don't mind something like this because it's refreshing, because it's like drinking water.
Yeah. Which is the problem, because it's
off-flavored
not,
water.
And then you're hydrated. You're dehydrated.
Yeah.
I'm always dehydrated.
So just drink more beer.
Pee, it burns when it comes out. I need to drink more water, but I refuse.
It looks like pee.
No,
it does.
Yeah, it does. We've all tested negative because
when you're meditating in the desert and you need something.
Is this the first time you've had one?
The first time I've had
a Corona?
No,
it's mine.
Oh, you've had a Corona?
You had one?
I've had Coronas.
Okay, I didn't know.
This is my first time.
This is my first
really?
one.
I've never had it.
It's not my beer of choice, but I mean,
it's not mine either.
You all have made. Well, Brandon specifically has made me a beer snob.
Yeah.
Like I only like.
You used to not
stuff.
You used to not
drink beer.
Oh, not at all.
I remember when you used to only like Bud with lime, and I bet if you drank that now, you probably would hate it.
No, I never liked that.
There was something you used to like.
No, it was like the wine cooler kind of thing. Like
there was something you used to only like,
stuff like that.
It was that. It was always the flavored Red's Apple Ale.
Red's Apple Ale.
That was a big one.
That's kind of Jacob's go-to, or like the cider type.
He likes what's the one
cider.
He always
hard cider.
The Washington apples.
Well, that's a mixed drink.
Well,
that's not beer, but
he likes his Washington.
But when he drinks a
apples,
beer, he usually does hard ciders and such. So
true, but we are all testing negative here at Red Moon. We've got our Corona.
I was just saying, if you're stuck in the middle of the desert and you need something refreshing, you don't know what Corona is.
Well, maybe if you're
Jared
stuck
Leto didn't.
in the middle of society. Jared Leto.
I don't know. I saw that article and I just thought, for those of you who don't know, he was in the desert meditating for 12 days. And when he came out of his meditation, he did not have to face Satan. He faced the fact that Corona. I don't know. Every time I read something about him, I was like, that man is so out of touch with reality.
He did. Like the picture.
The picture they
it's
showed
like, man,
like
he's like, but
his
his
long
comes
flowing
out of
locks.
meditation.
I'm surprised he wasn't in the desert for 40 days.
I'm just like,
well, then he really wouldn't know. He'd come back and half the population.
I'm not
be wiped
denying
out
his acting ability. Like, I mean, other than Joker, he was terrible in that. But I mean, he can act, but he's so out of touch with reality that it's ridiculous.
Well, and that was the thing. You said it best when you said his 12 days of being in isolation.
It's like that man was not.
I'm like, well, for one,
he had
Corona,
no security, no assistance, nobody telling him what's going on, other than the fact that Corona's been around longer.
I was
going to
say, even if he had, it's like, look, maybe not everything was on lockdown.
No, America.
But Corona's been around for more than 12 days.
It's
I mean,
the biggest impact of it in America has only been within like the last week, but worldwide, it's been months.
It's been a while. So come on now, Jared.
I'll tell you what, if that's all they got in Mexico, I don't want to go.
No, man.
Made in Mexico.
Dos Equis Amber. That's one of my favorite.
Dos Equis is good?
Amber. Not the regular Dos Equis taste like this. The Amber
I should have got some of that too.
Yeah. That is
well, it's Corona.
Yeah.
What's the extra part? Is there a Corona without the extra?
The extra is what keeps you from getting
There's
the virus.
Corona Extra and there's Corona Light.
Yours is yellower than mine.
Uh-oh. Hold on. I can't see there.
It does
Hold on. Pull it over to Sean's cam. I can't see.
It's gonna make a difference, but no, it looks the same.
It is. Oh,
Maybe it's
it
the
does.
lighting.
It must be. Yeah, because I got this white light behind it. That's what it is.
Well, I think what it really stands for is, hey, we're the only ones drinking Corona.
Yeah.
And we need
You know what this is
sponsors.
good for? When you want to get wasted and you can't taste it, so you just down. No, but seriously,
you have to have a bunch of them.
I could drink this like fast because there's not a hard like.
But see, here's the problem with the.
It's so much like water that I could drink like 4 of these before I realized that I had drank like that
4
much.
of them. I was gonna say that's the problem with cheap beers, but that's also what's their genius.
But that's
They're
what's
cheap,
the point of them.
But you drink a bunch and there's no alcohol.
Well, that's
content.
why all
so you don't even get drunk.
That's why all college parties are nothing but Pabst and Rolling Rock because it's $1 for a beer.
You can drink a lot of it before you get drunk.
That's right. And then they want to act like after like 4 or 5 of them they're wasted, and I'm like, well, you're just a lightweight, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does have the same alcohol content as other beer.
Where'd you find it?
It's
'Cause I
just
can't
so much
find
easier
it.
to drink.
You can't find it anywhere?
I can't find the alcohol content on it.
Oh, yeah, where's it
That's
at?
what I've been looking for.
I think it's actually on the box. I don't think it's.
I
on
thought
the
you were talking
bottle.
about you couldn't
I
find
think
it in
it's. I mean, it's
stores.
not high. It's like 4 or 5%. It's not super high, but it's
Yeah.
the same as like a Budweiser. You know what I'm saying?
Well, all I know is it's all right.
I don't know. I like those Elysiums.
can we
and
all
those, like,
agree-
8%.
What? What is?
I'm talking about like some of them beers, like
Oh,
Elysium and some of the others, like 7 or 8%.
Stardust is like 7 or 8.
Yeah,
Bifrost is like 9.
Those are the good beers.
Bifrost.
Those are the ones.
Bifrost
Yeah.
is a dark beer.
Maybe
is.
that's why I can't drink a beer while I'm doing the podcast. I just can't drink those.
Yeah, you can drink
Those-
Corona all day.
Yeah, that or Bud Light Lime. I'll choose Corona. over that.
Yeah, Corona. Well,
Can we at least say that we're all happy to have this Corona and not the other? I mean, we can at least say that, right? Or would you rather have the COVID-19?
If I had COVID-19, I wouldn't have to go to work. I still got to go to work tomorrow.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't want to joke about it because it is a serious matter, but at the same time, I'm like, having the coronavirus would still be more interesting than this beer. So, I mean, as terrible as that is to say, like, I don't want it, but
Yeah.
Well,
We're all going to get it. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's inevitable.
It's going to happen.
it's like Thanos.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
That was the snap we were given.
Yeah.
Was coronavirus.
It's like somebody got a hold of the Infinity Gauntlet, created the Corona.
Well,
Damn
we also,
Chinese.
it's funny, but we have a movie also this week. One of the handful that are out. I mean, heck, let's talk about that real
This
quick.
movie was already postponed once.
And, yeah.
Because they thought, it was a bad time. There were some mass shootings, which is serious, but they felt this movie was too violent to release during that time, so they pushed it back. And lo and behold, as soon as it opens, Corona breaks out.
True.
So it got screwed twice.
Well, I was gonna say I find it funny that they had this come out, or insensitively, they were charged with being insensitive when it was first scheduled.
Yes.
So they pulled it. Now they put it out, and now it's like, mass pandemic.
Nobody's
is
going to see it anyway.
So nobody's gonna see this movie.
They are going to offer it up for video on demand.
I'm glad because I want to watch it again.
You did
honestly,
like it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I would watch it again. It has. Well, we'll listen to my review. Listen to my review.
Okay, I guess we should. Yeah, let's go right into it. So here is our official review of The Hunt.
While we are locked up in our houses and the world is empty of the typical bustle of everyday life, the options we have for entertaining ourselves have become slimmer. While many are quarantined as we face this ongoing pandemic, trips to the theater are no longer optional in many cases. To alleviate the stress of a society cooped up all day, many Hollywood studios have opted to release their theatrical films digitally through on-demand services. Now you can catch many of the latest films at home, paying a marginal rental price often cheaper than the ticket price you would have paid at the theater. One such film that was postponed last year in the wake of several mass shootings has unluckily released now amidst the corona scare. Being a smaller film with plenty of interest and controversy surrounding it, Universal and Blumhouse have released their film, The Hunt, along others for on-demand rental. Now anyone can judge for themselves how controversial the film is, and with nothing better to do while stuck at home, the film is one worth checking out. The Hunt is a satirical film about a group of rich liberal elites who hunt low-class conservative quote-unquote deplorables when a group of strangers wake up in the woods with no memory of where they are or how they got there. They soon find themselves fighting for their lives as they are hunted down and killed. The movie proved to be controversial and was scheduled for release in August of 2019. Postponed due to mass shootings at the time, does the film spread a message of hate and violence, and is it even worth watching? The movie, as stated, is meant as satire and as such has a comedic streak throughout. In fact, its comedy is sometimes outlandish and over the top, setting itself up from the beginning as a film to not be taken too seriously. The politics of the film are not subtle and are not meant to be. Each character is a blatant stereotype of at least one aspect of their respective ideology, whether they be Republican or Democrat. In fact, if nothing else, the film can be praised for poking fun of both sides equally. The violence is over the top and brutal, but no more so than any other action-oriented R-rated movie. Where does this all land The Hunt? As a mildly entertaining film that has some ideas to play with, but ultimately isn't bold enough to truly make a statement one way or another. I can easily and sadly see those of the left root on and cheer the hunters picking off conservatives in this movie, and can likewise see conservatives cheering on the survivors taking out the liberal hunters. The movie does offer a few thought-provoking moments and is clearly intended as social commentary about the current divide in America, but just isn't strong enough in my opinion to get its message across. By making the left vicious killers who do have a in-film reason for hunting their prisoners outside of the fact that they have different political opinions, the film has already set them up as villains, and they should be, as their in-film rationale for killing isn't enough to justify hunting people. With the left set as antagonist and the right as the protagonist, there's no room to look at the opposing side's point of view. And while yes, plenty of viewers may still side with the characters that share their political beliefs, watching their frustrations and anger against the opposite side played out in a hyper-violent fantasy, at the end of the day, the film either forces everyone to acknowledge in film that one side is bad, or else could promote an idea of violence against those that differ from us. Though this is clearly not the film's intent, which is my biggest gripe. The film is entertaining, but lacks the depth needed to be the social commentary it is meant to be. It's fun and humorous, but the acting and writing, from Damon Lindelof no less, is subpar. Often the humor is too over the top when nothing else in the film is, creating a film that feels disjointed. It is interesting, it does make enough points to warrant watching, and with little else to do and it now being available on demand, I would welcome everyone to give it a chance. Just take the film with a grain of salt and watch with an open mind. I give The Hunt 2.5 out of 4 stars.
2.5 out of 4 stars.
Indeed, and I don't give it that.
Man.
I don't give it that to
As a
say
bad
it's
thing?
it's not a good movie. I was very entertained by it. I do think, like I said in my review, it is a movie that it wants to be this social commentary on the divide in America, and I don't think it was. It definitely provided plenty of comedy and satire about both sides of the aisle, which I appreciate and thinks it excelled at. But I do feel like as far as the social commentary on how we treat each other, it kind of missed the mark, because the minute you make one side the bad guys hunting the other side, it's like, well, how can you you can't really side with the people hunting other people.
Right.
You can't really correlate with them because they are obviously doing the wrong thing. We shouldn't be killing people.
Right.
So I feel like in that regard, it misses its mark as a social commentary because you automatically make one side villainous.
Right.
I thought, at one point, I thought that they were going to try to, that at some point the movie would flip and you would root for the elites.
The liberal elites.
I really thought that's what they were going to try to do at some point, was like turn things around and make
they
you
start
side
revealing,
with them.
like I said, they had in my review, they had an in-movie reason for why they were killing the conservative people.
Yeah.
Other than the
Sorry.
other than the fact that they were conservative, they had another reason for why they were doing it, which, I mean, wasn't a particularly good one, but at least it made sense.
Right.
But even still, I was like, well, if they came up with something that made them seem less evil, I'd be like, okay, I understand it. But even their reason in the movie for killing these people outside of them being conservative wasn't good enough to be like, well,
Right.
I see their point. That's still one of those things where it's like, no, that still makes them look like terrible people. So
Yeah.
But
So the thing, well, and here's the thing. This movie, obviously, as we already pointed out, seeking the fact that it had a huge, it's going to end up, it only came out at like number 5 in the box office, launching.
It tries to play on some themes from Animal Farm too, and there's references to Animal Farm in the movie, but even they weren't strong enough. I feel, like I said, like Damon Lindelof was the writer, and I think I told you before, like when I was recording the review, I feel like Damon Lindelof thought his script was smarter than it really is. I mean, it's a fun and entertaining movie, but I don't think it's as smart as Lindelof thought it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I wondered. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was wondering if the months almost a year that they had between the original release and now, if there were changes made.
That could be true too. I mean, I don't know, but it does seem like maybe they were trying to be less offensive. In
well,
the
they
film.
tried even with the marketing to try to make it seem like this was the film they all were trying to ban.
Yeah.
and trying to.
Yeah.
You know, they were almost building. I thought that was a smart way of approaching it with the re-release. Now, of course, with the coronavirus kind of knocking it back out, it really is. Even with them launching it on video on demand, it seems like this is really going to be a missed film in general.
I think it will.
Yeah.
So my question to you all is, with it being one of those kind of films that gets swept under the rug, you know, just poor timing on two events, you know, is it something you should seek out and see?
I think if
and
you're
worth
stuck
a
at
watch?
home right
No,
now,
it was definitely entertaining.
Yeah.
And I told you, did I tell you 2.5 when we left?
I think you said 2.5.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I'm almost like 2, but
Almost like 2.
But again, not in a bad way. I agree with your statement about that completely. It is an entertaining movie, especially if you're the kind of person that likes the gory and the, you know, I mean, if you like Kill Bill and if you like Pulp Fiction and you like that kind of stuff, you'll enjoy the movie. But something didn't translate from the original trailers and stuff like that to the movie for me. I don't know why. I wasn't as excited about it once it got started.
I knew it was supposed to be satirical, so I knew it was supposed to have comedic parts. But even some of the comedy, like me and Sean, like in the movie, were just like, come on, like like if you're going to be an over the top comedy, then go all in with that. But they have these over the top comedic moments, and then back to the seriousness. And I was like, this is just really weird. When the rest of the movie, it's like there's a real threat, and then there's one point where this character lands on a bed of spikes and has like a spike through her chest, and she's talking and doing this and that, and it's supposed to be unrealistic and comedic, but it just didn't really fit with the rest of the movie. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, this is bizarre. Like, I mean, it was funny, but it's like it didn't really fit with the rest of the film.
Because basically, she gets pulled off the spikes. Then she gets blown in
Yeah,
half
they throw
by
a
a grenade, and the top half of her torso flies
Lands
back
on
into
the
the
spikes.
spikes.
And she's still talking
and
to
she's
people.
still talking.
And I'm like, okay, I get this is supposed to be this over-the-top comedic moment, but the rest of the film's not this over-the-top. It was just weird.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like it kind of got lost in its own nature of what kind of story it was trying to tell.
Yes, I think it got lost in what type of tone they wanted to take. I think the writing, I mean, wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Like I said, I think they missed the mark with trying to make these correlations with Animal Farm. It's like they made their point at the end of the film, but it's like if you have to wait to the last like 20 minutes of the film to try to make some kind of explanation for why this is going on, that still isn't that feasible. It's like, no,
they played into the stereotypes of both sides of the political aisle way too much. Like, I mean, there's the girl wants the guy to shoot her in the head and put her out of her misery, and she's like, oh, come on, snowflake. Like, I mean, they take every stereotype and put a person with that stereotype in the movie on both sides, and I thought that was just kind of like just overdone.
It's one of those things where I think like, because it is like this hyper violent film, like Kill Bill, where you're watching, you know, Uma Thurman go around killing all these people because it's a revenge flick. Yeah. You're rooting for Uma Thurman because you're like, yes, you get your revenge. In this movie, it's like you shouldn't really be rooting for certain people. Yeah. But at the same time, I could easily see like liberals going in and rooting for the liberals and conservatives going in and rooting for the conservatives. Like, yeah, show them, get there. Well, those. See, and then they never take the time to really make you stop and think.
What you're telling me there, though, is almost as if, well, and you explained that in the review about how if you fall on one side or the other, you basically have a team you're rooting for. Yeah. But doesn't that further cause a divide?
Yeah, it's like the movie, and that's fine if by the end of the film they had that stop and think moment, which they do kind of have. Like, there was a cool, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a cool moment with the main character when she finally meets the one responsible for all of this, who is played by Hilary Swank, where there's a kind of a slight plot twist that is supposed to make you stop and think, and it does a little bit, but not enough that I felt like I feel like there needed to be a bigger moment to make you think, well, is this divide that's going on right now really worth it, or should we be coming together? And I don't feel like they really had that moment in there, though they did try a little bit to make you think, well, should there be such a big divide? So I don't know. Yeah. It's entertaining and worth a watch, especially if you're stuck at home, you have nothing to do.
No, I agree.
Well, I was just saying, especially now that you're being offered on video on demand.
As long as you don't have to pay a ridiculous price. We've heard rumors about what people. I have to look into
for $20. I'm wondering if that is buying the movie like digitally.
Here's the thing.
It's renting for $20.
To me, why wouldn't it?
We don't.
I heard at that point, why not buy it and then I mean, that's what you're doing. Anyway.
I don't want to like we have heard that Universal was going to charge $20 to rent these movies. I don't know for sure. I'm going to look into that to see if that's true.
I'm just wondering if it's $20 to purchase it. But that sounds more on par with
with actually
a digital purchase.
If
and
I'm
if they're just
spending
bypassing seeing it in theaters, and it's like you just buy it outright.
If I'm spending $20 on a movie, I better own that movie forever. It better not just be a single week release or like do something. So I don't know.
We're gonna get into that in our headlines.
Yeah, we are, and it is curious. Yeah.
So so definitely worth a watch, even though it has that 2.5 out of 4 stars. It's still worth seeing and worth catching up on. Not obviously in your coronavirus-ridden theaters.
I say go.
Those are obviously closed anyway.
Like I said, Murphy, go see it, but just kind of keep in mind.
You can't go see
it. Rent it when it comes available. Rent it, watch it since you have nothing better to do. But keep in mind, like certain like take it with a grain of salt. Don't just buy into the movie full-heartedly, give them what's coming to them.
With some of the themes, it may not be the message we need right now.
Yeah.
in the time of quarantine and social distance.
If you disagree with somebody, just go out and murder them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got that. It does have a really good point to it about the online posts and stuff. It wraps things up in a way that really tries to point out to people. Watch it's one thing, and we've had this talk recently about texting,
yes.
but it's another when you're online in an open forum with millions of people and you're making stuff up or even spread if you're even giving
or
your
saying
opinion,
things that are
you're
going to
opening
be,
it up to people either listening to your opinion and taking it as serious. And it's like some of these things people post online in Reddit and 4chan and all these different forums
inappropriate
where
things
you
that are
can get away
charged.
with saying anything you want, and they're politically charged, and people believe this stuff and eat it up to the point where this movie kind of pokes fun at them being willing to kill over it.
Right.
But it's like people just take some of this stuff so seriously, and it's just, and we've talked about it at the movie theater. We've texted each other stuff that we would never say, like in front of anybody else,
and honestly,
and it's joking.
I don't want anybody hacking our Apple
This movie
accounts.
points it out that somebody read those texts and thought we were serious.
Yeah.
We would
joke
be
around.
screwed.
Oh, we joke around about it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But to me, that again, and I think that's burp. I'm sorry, Corona's getting me here.
Burp.
You'll feel better.
I really do think that's the problem that we have in general with the more social push in the culture of social media, but also in just in general within our political atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's like so many things are considered toxic, or so many things are considered. Look, free speech. It was always said growing up. It was like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Yeah.
No, that's not to say you go out and say things without tact, but at the same time, there are things you say in a public forum that are different than in a private forum.
Yeah.
And I think if you're amongst
Sometimes
friends
words
and family,
hurt. Well,
you
you should have the freedom to speak them, but you
Right.
also got to suffer the consequences sometimes.
You
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think too that a lot of people will say things in private they don't intend to be said in a public forum.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think that's the difference of having everything blasted on social media like a lot of people do these days, and then it comes back to haunt them. But I think it's problematic when those same people who are getting the consequence of having things that they said in private out in public, it's like, no, that's the problem. Something you say in private amongst your friends and family shouldn't be brought to the forefront.
Yeah.
But if they are, then I don't think we should be getting our pitchforks and torches and going
it's
after
the same,
them.
like with James
That's
Gunn
not right.
and Kevin Hart.
Exactly.
Some of the things that have happened in the movie industry, and
Yeah.
people have had consequences of jokes they've made on Twitter that really aren't that serious.
Poor
it's like
taste, yeah.
Right.
we do need to be conscious of what we say and what we put out there, and at the same time, we shouldn't be immediate to like ruin everybody's lives over something that may not be
He's
that
looking at me,
serious.
he's just like, "Runs tastes like
I mean,
crap."
the closer it gets to the bottom,
looking at my beer and I'm
The
just
worse,
like,
the more
it's
lime.
like,
It's
well,
not-
here's the thing.
like,
It gets
what
towards the bottom. I'm like, is that beer or is it just backwash? I don't
Spit.
know. It tastes the same.
Spit and lime.
well, you better just spit and swallow at this point.
Oh,
This is a non-mature rated podcast, Brandon.
Yeah.
Let's keep it. Let's
Well,
keep it
that's
that's
clean.
the thing. Jokes that were jokes 10 years ago are offensive today.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Well,
is
hell,
that,
I was watching
you know,
Tommy Boy just last night.
Oh,
yeah.
And they said in there, and he's sitting there and he's like, there's something problem with, I'm retarded.
Yeah, you
And,
can't,
he's,
yeah, you
and
can't
I was
say
like,
that
you
no
can't
more.
say I'm
Yeah.
retarded
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, it's like,
And
but
I
it
think
was
that's
hilarious.
just
I think it's hilarious.
Now we're
It
going to
is.
get kicked off the air.
Probably, we're going to be banned.
Hey, just like The Office, Michael Scott, you wouldn't call a retarded person retard. I call my friends retarded, and I
He's
consider
messing up.
Oscar.
Yeah, you
Oscar a
sound
friend. I am.
retarded
But let me say,
right
it's like I'm retarded. No.
Now we're getting it.
No.
Now we are getting banned.
Don't go full retard.
Look, we can
Never.
either,
That's Sean Penn went full retard. Tropic Thunder.
Yep.
I guarantee you that would be offensive
yes.
today. Robert Downey
Blackface,
Jr.
yes.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about Tropic Thunder is it was making fun of those things.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the whole point.
Still offensive.
We can get on here and talk about sweaty balls and sniffing our fingers like we did last week, but we can't talk about retarded.
I don't know if that's offensive yet.
Well,
It might be
getting there.
offensive.
It will
to
be.
women. I don't know.
Now that it's all about washing your hands and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Now you're just sniffing
You
your
mean,
balls.
you mean I
giving
have
somebody
to
corona.
wash my hands after I scratch my testicles?
Mm-hmm.
You admitted you never did that.
What? I said I never did it when I went to the bathroom. I'm not saying I've never
okay.
sniffed my taint.
Fair enough.
That sounds
Did
terrible.
Your
What did you
tinkle? Did you
Sniffed my taint.
taint?
I'm not saying I've never,
Let's. All right, yeah.
We can't go on another tangent like this last week.
people are going to be like, what is wrong with these guys?
Well,
we're drinking Corona on air.
I'm
We're
pulling
sorry.
up the notes to see where we go from here.
Okay, I'll tell you where we go. Our headline this week actually does have to do with the hunt. We saw it opened at number 5, which is just abysmal anyway, especially after it took a hiatus and didn't release earlier, or late last year.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is now we're having and facing the problem where we've got several movies at the box office that have been hit hard.
Everything's getting delayed.
Onward was number 1 again, but it only made $10 million.
I mean, movie theaters around the country are being closed. Here in our own state, they are being forced to close.
Well, we released last week news that the theaters were going. We got an AMC Stubbs A-list email talking about how they were cutting the theater ticket sales down to at least 50%. They were only gonna have 50% of audiences attend the movie and then call it sold out. And then, of course, just a few days later, they updated that to no, all theaters are shut down. They're just closed.
Yeah.
So now we understand that, yes, it's been right for, the studios to understand that, okay, we need to postpone these big releases like No Time to
They
Die.
have to now. There's nowhere you can go to watch them.
And that's the big question is now in some of the smaller releases that are being pushed up like Trolls 2, they're not releasing in theaters, or they are to those that are available, but they're also releasing video on demand.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is we've had this argument before on the podcast, or at least we've had
We've
talks
talked about.
it.
We think one day this could be. We've. It's funny how many things we predict on the podcast that come true.
You heard it here first.
We've talked in the past about the evolution of cinema and if movie companies would bypass theaters or even release films on demand same day as they release in theaters. Now they're doing that. Of course, they have to because they don't have a lot of options.
Now that they're forced to, the theaters don't have an argument because they have to be shut down.
Yeah, they can't really fight against it.
So they can't sit here and say, well, no, the theater experience is the premier experience. It may still be, but if
you can't
Man,
go.
Corona's
I know
getting
it just did me too. I think I did it in the microphone. I didn't mean to. I usually move away.
I never move away. Everything I do is
bad.
going directly into the mic.
Think about how much money the theaters are losing just on concessions alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like with nobody going there to buy all that food.
Well, the first
oh my God.
3 weeks of
Are
a
always-
film,
yep.
like the movies, the theater doesn't get any profit off those ticket sales anyways.
Yeah.
All they have is concessions.
And I think that's why they made the choice to close was because they knew even with the big releases not coming, people staying at home in general, they knew ticket sales were going to be down, and they thought, well, let's just spare it right now, not waste all the product. We're going to have to save on concessions because nobody's going to be spending extra money on concessions anyway. But the real question here is, does the COVID-19 virus make a case for video on demand? Is it does this end up becoming the trend that we see becoming an issue where he's doing something with his
I was taking behind the scenes photos.
Yeah. Could you forward the notes to me because I don't have them.
Oh my
that's
gosh, you don't
weird.
have the notes?
I don't have the updated notes.
They're not updated.
I still have 3:10:20.
Oh, we got to get that
Onward
updated.
is the review today.
That's not true.
Sometimes,
It's like the coronavirus affected your iPhone.
sometimes
I don't know.
Apple's cloud services
Yeah, it
aren't
doesn't always
always
work.
as
I
nice
think
as
maybe they shut that down too.
Yeah.
Here, you want me
Yeah,
share
here,
for
yeah,
right
just
now?
share.
You
Oh,
want to
that'd
share for
work.
right now?
Social
There you go.
distancing though.
Yeah.
Share
Social
with
6 feet apart.
Social. Well, we're not 6 feet apart.
Nobody knows
but,
that. Not the way that. Well, they can see on the wide shot. That
Here's the thing, though. Going back to the topic about the
Yes.
video on demand, I honestly think that if this proves to be successful for production companies, which I mean, it very well could because that's the only way people can see movies right now anyway. But if it comes out that production companies say, hey, we can make more money by releasing films same day on demand as in theaters, I think, and of course, theater chains would obviously try and fight it, but I do think it is something that we could see in the future continuing on, where you can go see a movie in theaters, or you could just rent it for a premium price at home. Well, hopefully not $20,
but that's exactly what we just talked about. We just talked about how we're not going to pay $20 if that's the rental price. I mean, even if you offer me to buy it, I don't know if I'm going to buy and take a hunch on a film that just released.
No.
I mean, if you can,
the price has to be reasonable.
Well, and at the end of the day, it's like, what am I paying for? If I'm not buying it and I'm renting it, am I really paying it because it's a new release? Because at the end of the day, if I'm paying for that price and that premium price at a theater, I at least get a big screen with great sound.
Yeah.
And I have a reason to go out of the house.
$20 you're in the IMAX.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't. I'm curious, and this is kind of off topic, but I wonder if AMC is going to refund our money for our stubs.
I actually mentioned that to my mom. I said, I understand they're in a hard place, but they surely can't charge people $20 a month when they're not even open.
Yeah.
And I actually honestly thought there was one point where AMC was talking about doing like movie on demand things, not new releases. But I was like, if AMC were to come out and say, hey, we're going to offer AMC Stubs members, free movies on demand, like maybe 1 or 2 movies a week, like I understand maybe they don't want to do 3 like they do for some. I would be like, hey, that's cool. I would accept
honestly,
that.
you know what I would even take? I would even take if you offer me free concessions. If you offer me a free popcorn and Coke and a candy.
Well, they can't while they're closed.
No. I'm saying when you reopen.
Yeah.
If you offer me that
trouble.
for however many movies that I come to for the duration that you're closed. If you're closed 3 weeks and I come and see my limit of 3 movies for those 3 weeks, then I should, if you offer me a free popcorn, Coke, and a concession,
I would take that.
I would take that as a compensation of saying, okay, I'm getting my movie free.
More than the movie.
That is worth more than the movie.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Well, and at this point,
popcorn and a Coke cost more than a ticket.
Yeah. But that's the question, that because here's the thing: if this takes off, and Brian, my next door neighbor, raised this point, it makes sense. If you do have a video on demand service and you're offering $20 even to rent. Yes, you can make the argument with it being a new release that you're saving money because you basically, if you've got 3 members in your family,
I see their point.
You got a cheaper ticket.
If you have a household of 4 people or more, like watching a movie, it's like, yes, that's 5 tickets. Like you say, it's 5 people. That's 5 tickets that the AMC didn't get.
And that the studio directly attributes.
But at the same time, like you said, you're not getting the same theater experience in your home. So I don't feel like, yes, there's 5 people watching the movie, but I still don't feel like that correlates to a $20 price tag to rent something.
I don't either. I mean, think about it. If their theater is closed, that's electricity they're saving. That's the projector they're putting less wear and tear on. They're not
that
having
doesn't
to
affect
run
the production companies.
Oh, I know, but it's still, that affects the cost of showing the movie. So to me, they should be delivering it to you cheaper. It's just like where I work now. This has been like an eye opener for this company, and they're saying we need to figure out ways for people to work from home. We can't right now. We don't have that capability, but if we did, we could pay you more money to work from home because we don't have to pay for office space.
Yeah,
true.
And we don't have to pay for the lights and all this stuff. So to me, if the theater is shut down, they're saving money in some way just from utilities alone. So they should be able to offer that to you a little bit cheaper.
Well, you're thinking, because if a production company releases a movie on demand, a theater's not going to see any type of money from that. So really, theaters closing right now, they're not. AMC's getting nothing.
Well, but I do think that that's the problem they have to solve in the back end.
Yes.
And I think what the real issue here, and to your point, Sean, if theaters are closed for up to 3 months, that's a lot of that's a lot of money, and all the money they lose from any ticket sales to these other studios that go directly. So if the studios see all of this revenue pouring in directly from people renting it, if they do see a boom and it's like, oh, people are renting this at home for $20, I'd rather go direct to the consumer, just like a Netflix and all these other streaming services, than go to the theater. The theater's really got to come up with an idea to get people back in the chair, back in the seats, and willing to pay that $8, $9 per ticket. And everybody knows that not only do the concessions end up paving the way for how the theaters make money, but everybody knows that when you go to the theater, you're paying for the popcorn and the Coke. My brother can't stand going to the theater because he knows that Wendy, his wife, won't go to the theater without getting a popcorn and a Coke.
Yeah.
So he knows he's already going to be out like $20-something just for concessions. So to me, the theaters are either going to have to come up.
I can't go without at least getting a Coke. I can go without getting something to eat,
drink.
but I do have to have something to drink.
But luckily, I usually have a $5 reward because
from
of
your
all the movies
Stubbs
I've
list.
seen.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They're not only just going to have to worry about us who subscribe to Stubbs A-List, they're going to have to worry also about the normal average consumer that comes in there that doesn't subscribe to any of those services. Because if I don't have a reason to go back to the theater, and if I can go and hell, if a studio starts selling popcorn, that's theater popcorn. I mean, you already have those in the aisle. You go get that at a freaking glass Coke and a nice theater popcorn with all the butter at the store.
Blockbuster used to sell the movie theater.
Yeah,
they had the bucket that you could actually fit in the microwave and it would pop in the bucket or whatever. Yeah,
and then it would be like theater ready popcorn.
Yeah,
but the thing is if you go out and you have that already at home, your
before
own home concessions.
Went extinct.
Well, they didn't adapt.
They didn't.
Yeah.
And
theaters going to have to adapt now.
And I think that's the bigger story here is if this makes a case for why a studio should go direct to the consumer and bypass the theater, because let's face it, the normal average consumer doesn't care about IMAX. Yep. They don't care about. They care about the $9 ticket and the high concession.
Once upon a time, theaters were the only way to see them. They didn't have They didn't have VHS. They didn't have home. They didn't have television. They didn't have
home theater.
Any type of. You had to go to the Nickelodeons and then the theaters to actually see a movie. But then with the advent
I can
of
tell you,
home
as impressed
market,
as my parents were with just buying a 1080 TV.
Oh yeah.
They didn't care to go to the theater.
No.
They really have 1917 was the last movie they went and saw, and they were like, "That's the first movie I've seen in a theater in a long time that I actually want to buy."
Yeah.
And if you're going to the theater to actually see something that you may potentially buy down the road, you're paying for that premium price to see something that you hope is worth your while.
I mean, that's why I love to go, especially IMAX, because of our Stubbs membership. We take advantage of every IMAX movie we can see because I do.
Absolutely.
Even if it's something I don't want to see, I'll still go see it in IMAX.
1917, the Marvel movies, Star Wars, all of those are movies that in IMAX is just an experience that you cannot get at home, and I love it. But at the end of the day, while I'm the type of person that wants that experience, my parents don't give a crap about that.
No.
I mean, they would be happy to just sit at home and watch something. And I think if you go direct to consumer, like you've said, there's going to be a lot of people, if the price is right, like we've said, that are going to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the theaters in this case are kind of left in. I don't think they're worried about it right now. I think they're just, everybody obviously is just
right now. I think
about,
it's too early to.
Of course it is. But I think they're all just, everybody's like, well, they're trying to make it a PR thing. Every business out there who's being forced to shut down. Yeah. I mean, even restaurants are like, well, we'll do takeout. You can go do a takeout. And theaters, I think, are going to have to come up with a way outside of what their traditional business has been to combat this pandemic and try to figure out how are they going to attract customers back, especially if you have studios who come out here with the video on demand services offering new releases. Now, obviously, studios are smart. They know that this isn't something that they can, I guess, it's something that they know isn't going to pay off hugely, or at least they don't know yet. They're experimenting. That's why they push No Time to Die and all these other bigger releases that they're probably going to see huge box office numbers
Well,
from.
they know that those are the types of movies people want to go to the theater to see. You want to go to the theater to see the next James Bond movie or Mission Impossible or Marvel.
We know how big those blockbusters are used to pay for whatever the next big blockbuster is going to be.
Yeah.
Or even some of the smaller indie flicks.
I mean, when Endgame released, and they had said you could see this on demand the same day or in an IMAX, I'm like, I want to go see Endgame in IMAX. I appreciate the on demand, but if I have the opportunity, absolutely, I'm not going to not go see something like that, which the massive, spectacle, the sound, everything that goes into that movie.
It's not just that's the social experience itself. It's like you can go with your friends to see it. It's different than having your friends over to sit on the couch.
Everybody's reaction. People. I remember people cheering in the theater when we went to see it when Captain America showed up in Infinity War.
Yeah.
When people cried at the end of Endgame. Seeing those reactions make the experience that much better.
Yes, especially. Obviously for those bigger movies. For those bigger blockbuster releases, you have the fan base, you have the reason people show up and want to see that spectacle on the big screen.
Yeah.
But it still is very interesting to see as this continues and the theaters remain closed, how are studios going to respond with getting their movies out there? Because we've even talked about it here on the show. We don't know what we're going to review. for the next few weeks. I mean, we know it's going to be something that has to release.
Netflix movies.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a problem. I peeked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did. Peeked all over the place.
Which that brings me to another point, though, and I'm not, but here's the thing. That's a scary thing that movie studios are going to have to be cautious about with video on demand is once something's digital,
it's on digital and
once
online.
once it's digital,
pirated.
it's
pirated.
easy to pirate.
Yep.
And that's the thing is like, this could be successful, but they also have to be cautious because, when a movie's in theaters, I mean, every now and then you have a leak like Sonic did from Korea. But I mean, still, it's one of those things where those are rare cases. If you release it on demand, the moment, it's the very
it's
moment.
available.
The day they announced Rise of Skywalker was on demand, I got online and found torrents for that everywhere.
You can get the 4K online.
Not saying
already.
I downloaded it, but I'm saying I found it.
He didn't download.
Yeah.
it.
You don't know what
right.
I did.
I bought it from Target, and I haven't got it yet.
Yep.
My wife told me that people she works with that pre-ordered it, they already got it. It shipped to them early.
Really?
But I bought it from Target because I wanted the big
special
book or
case.
whatever that
Yeah,
comes with it. And so I haven't got mine yet.
Well, and it's interesting because
I pay
I'm
for every
wondering-
movie that I really appreciate.
Yeah. I got 1917 is supposed to
exactly.
be coming to me pretty soon. So.
But see, and that's the interesting thing.
Plus,
is
you can't get real good
No.
4K.
No.
I mean, you can get 4K, but not.
It's not the Blu-ray.
It's not the
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
No.
It's not the same quality.
No.
And we've talked about that in
We
terms
have.
of, but it's convenience. But
Yeah.
how many people, for one, yes, we understand not everybody out there torrents movies, and a lot of the people who know how.
The Last Swallow was
Use
terrible.
a VPN.
Oh, it was terrible?
I don't know. It was like spitting and lime. I don't know. It didn't taste like beer at all.
That lime touched your mouth and gave you a little sour taste,
It mostly just tasted like backwash, I'll be honest.
Yes.
Ugh, gross.
It's Corona.
That's sick.
I don't even think it was backwash. I just think that's how Corona tastes.
Jeez.
But I think that's the interesting thing about this whole scenario is with, for instance, we talked about before with Vudu, at least you can buy some movies digitally before they release on Blu-ray.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
you get it immediately, and then the Blu-ray
I
comes
love
out.
Blu-ray, yeah.
And
In
that's
fact,
at least convenient.
That 100% of the time would prevent me from pirating because if I can order it on Vudu and get it digitally that day and then get my physical copy whenever it releases, I'm happy with that.
Yes.
But if I have to wait, if I know, because they do this now, they release digital movies almost a month now ahead of the physical copy.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't want to wait a month to watch something I know is already available. And I don't want to pay for the digital
Well,
copy
I was
only to
gonna
pay
say-
for a physical copy down the line.
Exactly. And
So-
that's what ticks me off is when I have to pay.
It's
I
like-
have no problem paying for, $5 extra for a digital copy.
Mhm.
But it's when you charge me that $20
$20.
premium and I don't have
Yeah.
anything
It's like, I'm
but
not
a
paying
digital
$20 for digital and another $20,
Yeah.
$25 for the physical. No.
That's not right.
It's stupid.
But I think, too, while we've seen the
Pirates out
case.
of us all.
Well, and we've seen it, though. We've seen it with, everybody argued that whenever you had a digital medium such as iTunes arise, pirating went down because you had a capable, easy
99
to
cent,
use,
yeah.
99-cent method, and it was easier and cheaper for people to go about that than do LimeWire. But when you have a situation like this where pirating could, come up to become something that's much easier to do.
It really is about price and convenience.
depends.
If it's easy, if it's convenient and at a good price, people are willing to pay for it. If you make the price outrageous and make it hard to come by, people are going to turn to other means.
Right. And I think that's the question that's untold right now. We don't know with studios trying to price. We've already told on here, we're not renting a movie for $20.
Yeah, that's
just
ridiculous.
to rent it. That's
crazy.
Premium
Not if
or
I
not,
can go
whether
to
it's
Walmart
a new
and
movie.
buy, and granted, I know it's
Well,
right
I'm talking
now
about new
a little
releases.
harder.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about new releases from, instead of theater release,
Yeah.
releasing
Well,
a video
I
on
get
demand.
that, but still, I know if I wait several months, I can purchase the movie for. And yes, I have to wait, or I could pirate it. But it's like,
It's always gonna pirate it.
but at the same time,
I
it's
can
like
tell you on here the Red Moon way of reviewing movies. We received copies
That's it.
from the
we
studio.
get DVD screeners.
we do not. I have
From
gotten
the
DVD
studios.
screeners. I have.
directly
I'm
from
not,
them, though.
you know, I do not advocate piracy, but I am saying that it is an option that
it's
people
prevalent.
turn to because it is an easier option than the alternative.
Yeah.
Right. And until we know for sure, for one, that's the other thing. We don't know the slate of movies that are going to come out video on demand. We know Trolls 2 is coming out. We don't know of other big. That's the thing. That's a release. Trolls 2, not Troll
Not
2.
Troll, yeah.
No,
I just love that.
a much better movie. Troll 2.
Troll 2 probably is better than what we're.
we know that for a fact.
It's more entertaining, at least.
But I think that is the question at hand is how much are they going to charge? And at the end of the day, is that going to be something that consumers are willing to pay? Because if it's not, or even, that's the other thing, even if they come out with a great deal, it's not a guarantee with people sitting at home. They may not watch movies as much. They may not say, "Oh, I'm looking forward to that."
Right now.
We're gonna have the Coronials coming out.
I like the Corona boomers myself. The Coronials is pretty good.
The Corona boomers.
We're gonna have something. We're gonna have a mass influx.
Yep.
All right, guys. I think we beat this with a dead horse.
This water tastes better
Beat it with
than
a dead horse.
I don't know.
I think it's you
beat a dead
beat
horse.
a dead horse.
Yeah, beat a dead horse. But I like beating things with a dead horse.
I mean, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Well, and now we know the Derby's postponed till September. So
Thunder over Louisville, it's happening in August.
Yeah.
August
is when Thunder over Louisville.
I didn't even hear that announcement.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
that's going to be in August. Well, I mean, it'll still be warm in August. I mean, August for Thunder and then September for Derby. This is the only second time in history Derby's been
monster
postponed.
trucks got canceled, and it's going to be in August. It was supposed to be last week.
I was going to go to a job fair at Churchill Downs, and it was, which granted, I understand why it was postponed because now they're not, because it had to do with jobs relating to Churchill Downs, but now they're not doing anything for several months.
I say they pretty much canceled their spring meet. Then.
They can't. Well, that's what
spring meet's
this
gone.
job fair
So
was to begin with the spring meet and carry all the way through
the fall meet.
But now they've canceled it because there's no jobs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
and that's the bigger thing out there other than movies. We know that people are hurting, and we want. I mean, that's the thing that movies originally. Ultimately, we're for an escape.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping that these movies will continue to do. And that's what we're hoping to be here on the Red Moon Podcast to do for you while you're stuck inside.
Not watching basketball.
Inside.
Yeah, the March Sadness, We usually took a hit. We took a hit last year, being our first year live. People were tuning in to March Madness. We didn't see anybody watching us.
Stuck inside. I was actually, I think it's a fair point to mention our website, Red Moon. Not that there's a lot on there right now. I mean, you could see our past works and our movie reviews. But I was going to, I'll go ahead and I don't know if Brandon might not like this, but I was going to announce that every month we are going to be putting editorials online.
Absolutely.
I'm working on one on our 4-star, explaining why the 4-star rating.
Yep.
That'll be on this month, but the next one actually is going to be about movie theaters as an escape and the effect between with the coronavirus. And I was going to go far back with World War II, Cold War, how things have impacted the movie industry and how it's stood the test of time as being the lead form of entertainment in American culture. So that'll be for April, and hopefully at the very beginning of April, so while people are trapped inside.
You got reasons to visit our website. Yeah.
But that way. So look forward to that. And I think we can. I will say by next week we will announce the first article for the 4-star, and hopefully after that have a release date for the next article. But
and for all those,
I don't want to get too ahead. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves.
Remember, we're not about announcing things we don't have ready.
Yeah.
But the thing is yes, it's about people have given us grief over the years about what our 4-star rating means and why do we use 4 stars.
That was in the works before the corona outbreak, and because I'm already halfway through with writing the editorial, I'm not going to scrap it for the other one, but they will release, I guess, fairly close together just because of what has happened with the coronavirus.
But the thing is that's the beauty of having a website is you can go on there and read it anytime.
Read it.
www.redmoonproductions.com. Check it out.
Look forward to it. We'll announce the release of that soon.
Our latest review is up there right now of The Hunt.
It is. You can go read the review of The Hunt if you missed it on the show.
That's absolutely right.
Read our past reviews.
Well, not read. Listen.
I
haven't got the read function. That's not available yet.
My fault. I didn't realize. I know there were plans for that. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but you can listen to all the reviews.
Yeah, there it is. That's it.
Hashtag one day on the read part.
Again, as many things. Hashtag one day.
Hey, we got a website now. That's a huge. I mean,
you gotta love that.
That was 20 years in the making.
That was pretty much practically the entire time that we've had Red Moon in the making. So, absolutely. I'm glad to have it up there.
Well, in another 20 years, we'll have something else. So
maybe a movie again. Who knows?
Well, if they get on there and watch some of our earlier films, Solid Gear, they may not want to see any of our movies.
Probably true. All right, guys. I think it is ready, and we are ready to move on to our unique weekly segment.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Relationship. so nice
Now,
to have a relationship.
There is not in our notes what the relationship is, so this is going to be a surprise for us.
This is going to be a surprise.
I was just surprised by the editorial thing. I didn't know about that.
That's happening.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Got to keep me in the loop.
We will.
So what's the relationships?
Well, nobody's in the loop on this one because I didn't even know what it was. Well, I figured in the midst of, coronavirus and social distancing, I wanted to talk about how are ways in which we communicate with others,
or how we can
communicate with others. Because the fact is everybody's talking about, the fact that we have this social distancing and secluding ourselves from other people, and honestly, for the better part of your family members and members of your family that are older than 60, you obviously are more worried about them and their health concerns.
You don't want to
lose contact with them.
You don't want to spread anything, but at the same time, in times of crisis, I mean, your family's who you're going to band together with to get through things. So you can't, just completely shut yourself off from everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and Kristen told us a story that was very depressing, actually, about the person with corona or whatever that was dying, and they wouldn't even let the family in the room with them because they didn't want it to spread. And that's one of those things where it's like, I mean, I'm sorry if a loved one's dying. I'm going to say,
ain't gonna stop me.
Yeah, I'm going in that room. You can keep me in this hospital quarantined for however long you need to, but I'm going to be in the room with my dying loved one.
And I know it might have been the loved ones, like it might have been their fear and it might have been their concern, and they might have even suggested, no, stay away from me, it's not worth your life too, but I'm sorry, that's my choice, and you're my loved one, and it's like I'm going to be just as much at risk.
But she mentioned that him and his wife were FaceTiming or Skyping or whatever, and that's how they were communicating on his deathbed, which is a way to do it, though it's not the way I wouldn't do it. Yeah. No. But yeah, I mean, technology grants us many ways to keep in touch with each other, even if it's not the most ideal way. Obviously,
I FaceTime with my wife when she's in one room and I'm in the other.
Honestly,
because I don't want to be near her.
My sister FaceTimes me and my parents all the time. If her kids are doing something funny and like she can capture it like before they stop, she'll FaceTime us and be like, "Watch what they're doing."
Yeah,
and I mean it is. Yeah. I watched my niece like climb into a block, like this box that it usually holds blocks, but it was completely empty. And I mean it was amazing at how she fit in there. It was like watching a contortionist. She just laid down and folded herself up in this thing, and you could not see her. And I'm like, there you are. There's Solid Snake in the making. Like, she at one point had it upside down where she was crawling under it, and all you see is this block box going across the floor because she was underneath there. She's only one, but I mean, it was still funny. I'm like, that's funny. I
love videos like that, but I like it when it's cats.
Cats
in a box.
In a box.
In a box.
Like Neil can tell you, there's videos of cats jumping in boxes, dude.
Oh yeah.
All day.
Oh, I think Brandon witnessed it the first time, and you shared it, I think, with me. And then Neil actually was over at my house. I think it was me and Brandon, and I forget who all. There's a couple of people, and I do remember Sean showed it to me first, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was a cat jumping. Into the box, and I pulled it up while everybody was there, and I mean, I died every time I saw it. I was like, I don't know why, but it was just this fat orange cat trying to jump into this box, and I died laughing.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
It's fantastic. But and that's another funny thing about social media is it's like that's honestly a way in which a lot of people are kind of not keeping.
My dad
in touch,
loves memes. He loves them.
I was gonna say, and
sharing
honestly,
the GIFs and the memes and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, have a whole conversation with GIFs. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Yes,
it's so true. And
it's
actually,
fun too. I've done it.
It ends up telling the story better than you would just texting.
I know. Well, I think it helps. GIFs honestly, I think help convey the emotion that you can't with just plain words.
I know. It's true. Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that share the load GIF.
Share the load.
I had to.
Yeah, it's a little
inside joke.
Inside.
Share the load.
No, but I think too, I've even found memes now online where they're like, even on Facebook, it's like day 1 of coronavirus jokes. And everybody's laughing. Like day 4, it was like,
no,
my favorite was the meme one there was like 9 months later and it was all these women pregnant.
But that's the thing. I think in times like this, it's easy to get isolated. I think social media, I think the important thing is still people, we've seen the trend in the last 2 decades with social media booming like it has been, that it isn't necessarily what you need to remain connected and to stay connected. And even though we've turned to that as a means for, laughing in a time of isolation or, or we've, in a way of communication, it's still not the same as either picking up your phone, calling or FaceTiming somebody and actually talking to them or interacting with people directly. And it's like, I mean, even this week, one of my former, a friend and a mentor, and Pastor Romer, and I were going to go grab beers and talk, and had been a long time, and unfortunately it was on the exact same day the ordinance came out about closing down restaurants
and all that stuff.
And so it was unfortunate, but it was really one instances where it was like, that's usually what people do is they go out and get something to eat and talk over things. And yet now, unfortunately, you have this instance of, with all these places being shut down, there are still ways to communicate and get out there, but it's going to take creative ways.
And be creative, be smart. I mean, it's funny because they talk about, closing down schools, but then people start taking all their kids to the park. And it's like, well, that defeats the purpose. You're still like exposing them to everybody else. Yeah. And I understand kids cooped up at home is no fun for the parents, no fun for the kids. But that's when, you have to be creative about how you do interact with each other. And museums. For a while, actually, I think Neil and Megan or Jacob, I think it was Neil and Megan, they posted this thing about museums offer tours now online where you can go onto the museum and do a tour of the museum digitally, which is really cool. Well, many of them right now are offering that for free. You can go online and
just think
for
how
free
cool that would be
and
with your VR headset on.
Oh yes, that'd be amazing.
VR experience.
Tour the Louvre with your VR for free.
Especially
that would be amazing.
You can't pay for thousands of dollars.
Not
to
only
get over
that,
to Europe.
but I mean, if we were about 5 to 10 years in the future where VR was in everybody's home, which I think it will be as the technology gets more and more wireless and there's freedom. Think about putting that on and going to a bar with your friends.
That would be cool.
In
now
your living room.
we all have VR.
See,
so
but
we
this
could
is
sit
the weird
together.
thing is we've talked about in the exact opposite instance of how it's like
we would want to still have the
communal benefit of seeing each other in person.
But when you can't,
it's
great. Yeah. And that's the thing. Yes, I would advocate for one-on-one human interaction any day, but on those instances where you can't, or like Neil, who lives in Boston, if we wanted to say, hey, Neil, let's go get a drink together, put on our headsets and drink a beer. Not Corona, but drink something good.
Yep.
But absolutely, I think it's imperative to get out there, find ways to explore. I mean, whether it is, I know some even parks are shut down, but heck, I know the CDC is coming out with new numbers every day of don't gather. It was 50 people, now it's 10. And it's like the more and more isolated we get, the fact of the matter is it does become a more crucial reason to interact with other people. And it's like even just getting out, walking, on the sidewalk, walking around your neighborhood, just getting a breath of fresh air can do a world of good. Yeah. And honestly, it's like...
No, you're not supposed to advocate for people to go outside, Brandon.
Oh, I know.
So I will admit, I did tell both of you, I've thought, he's like, now might be a great time to go fishing because, I might be the only person on the lake and that would be awesome.
See, but now everybody's going to be out there fishing because they got nothing to do.
Maybe. Maybe. That's true. I bet the lake's packed now. Well, there were, I mean, not anymore, but before they shut down, flights and different stuff, people were taking advantage of the fact that cruises. My sister looked online because she was just curious, but you can go on like a week-long cruise for $200 because nobody's able to.
Well,
I didn't think that was even. I didn't think you were allowed to go on a cruise.
You can't now, but before they shut that down, and people weren't traveling.
Well, it was the same with the flight to Hawaii.
Yes,
it was like $400.
Yeah. They were dirt
cheap. When you get there, you're not allowed to leave, though.
Yeah.
You're quarantined.
Yeah, you're quarantined.
Hey, you can quarantine me there.
Because people were. They said millennials were taking advantage of the fact that because they were advising people not to travel, ticket prices went down, so millennials started traveling, even though they were told not to. Of course, now we can't because you can't fly out of country and you can't go on cruises. But but for a little while there, when you could,
it was
it was dirt cheap. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think even then, it still is about just being with your friends and your family, and I think spending the time that you have together, and just
at the end of the day, bonds. I think that's
the reasons why you want to communicate.
Friends and family. I mean, that's something we always need to keep in perspective. Is that those are the only people you really have. I mean, in life, I mean, the people that are your friends or family are the ones that you have to turn to.
Well, think about it. When this gets really bad, who's going to scavenge for you? I mean, who's gonna probably make you the last?
Brian
person
will.
to
I
eat?
know that they've
Yeah.
already offered us anything. If
That's
you all
true.
don't have anything, we'll give
Yeah.
it to you. So it's like
They've got it
they're
stockpiled.
Well,
they
and I
are
think
they
that's
are
a good
people.
That's a good message to send too.
He's a-
Don't freaking stockpile crap.
Oh yeah,
share it.
share the load.
See now people getting upset about the whole like people going into Kroger and like buying basket carts full of toilet paper. Here's my thing on that. Okay, I think that's probably not right. But Kroger should have had like limit.
Yeah,
2
they do
or 3.
now. They do now.
But
They
you-
should have
You
early
can't
on.
be mad at the guy who had the idea to get there first and buy it all up.
I don't think I'm mad at them. I'm mad at
I'm mad at Kroger for not
I'm-
limiting
that-
it, but I'm like, hey man, if he got there
True.
first and had the idea,
But
good
here-
for him.
here's
I mean,
where
I
I
do
think
think it's
the social
ridiculous
media
that
has.
some- yeah,
I would say the beauty of social media is it shows you how ridiculous you are. And I think honestly the big thing is that they came out and they were just like, why are you buying all this toilet paper?
Right.
And it was
Yeah.
kind of interesting. It was like, why is it the one item
Yeah.
Yeah.
that everybody went for?
The
they
coronavirus
don't want
doesn't
food.
It
say,
they want toilet paper.
the coronavirus doesn't make you poo anymore than it's not a disease like
Well,
something
yeah.
that makes you have to go
Well,
to
that's
the
what
bathroom.
I'm saying. If you don't have food, you're
How
not
can
making
you-
poop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
So
even
how
toilet
you're not
paper.
gonna have to
It's
wipe
like-
your
it
butt
doesn't-
if you
it
don't have
doesn't-
food.
It doesn't give you diarrhea, and if you're not eating, you can't poo. So yeah, why do you need all the toilet paper? And the thing is, they're afraid.
Because it's made in China and they're stopping. They're
Yeah.
stopping all the shipments of that. Kind
They're
of stuff
they're
to us.
afraid with the quarantine, people won't be able to go out and buy toilet paper. So they
Yeah.
figure if I stockpile enough to last me 3 months, then I don't have to go out of my house and worry
Well,
about
I
it.
would think that about frozen food.
Yeah.
Not toilet paper.
Canned goods,
Yeah.
frozen food,
You know,
things
give me
that yeah.
something that,
Stuff
and
that
that's the
lasts
thing.
a while.
Now that has been sweeping up the store.
Yeah,
shelves.
now people are
it's
buying
literally
those
like
things.
Y2K again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everybody's scared for this mass
At the end
chaos.
of the day, I'll say what I said in text. It's like, you know what? I have old towels that I use like when I work on stuff or I'm cleaning stuff. I can tear those into shreds and rewash them if I run out of toilet paper.
Yeah. Or if somebody doesn't have toilet paper, I'm using their shower curtain.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, why
that's
not?
it.
It's like
to me, that's the thing. That's how you do it. It's like
like-
at the end of the day, you're going to use what you have around you, and you got to be
it's
creative.
like Dumb and Dumber.
Mhm.
Dumb and Dumber, the prequel that was terrible, does have one funny scene where he's in the bathroom. I forget which one it was supposed to be because Lloyd or Harry, I don't know because I don't even remember the actors in that movie. But Bob Saget owned the house, and they were in Bob Saget's house, and they didn't have any toilet paper, so like they use like the hand towels and stuff, and they get like poo everywhere. And Bob Saget
remember
walks in.
this.
He walks in. He goes, "There's shit everywhere," and it was the only part of the movie I found funny because it's
'Cause
Bob
Bob
Saget.
Saget.
Yes.
Yeah.
That movie's a terrible movie.
Well, here's the-
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I've not. It's not worth it, though.
It's called like
apparently.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumber
When Harry Met Lloyd.
Yes, when
Is that
Harry met
one?
Lloyd.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've never
it's
seen that.
not good.
It's not
It's
worth
not.
it.
Yeah, I didn't.
But
put myself
honestly,
through that.
I truth be told, it's like this is why I have a bidet, and this is why I'm going on record and saying this is why every home in America should have a bidet.
Yep.
Is you wouldn't need toilet paper.
Yeah.
And even then, even if you had a towel and that was it,
I mean,
it would be
the
wiping
guy I
dry.
work
That
with,
was
The
it.
towels
was
to
ordering
dry
one.
yourself off.
See?
And yeah.
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 He
That's
said
all you
I'm
need.
ordering
You
a
know what?
bidet.
I need to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy me a bidet.
You can get them on Amazon.
Do it. That's how I ordered
could,
mine. I
but-
ordered mine at $40.
Amazon,
And
40
it was
bucks?
yeah, but it was a
I
hot,
like
It was a
yours.
hot water one.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Not
40
the cold.
$40 is cheap.
Now again, you got to turn on the faucet to get it hot for a little bit.
That's okay.
before
I
you
mean,
do it,
I
because
use
otherwise
it
it'll be
cold.
cold.
I use it cold.
I got
don't
used
care.
to it cold.
I
did.
mean,
You
Well,
get
we-
used
I
to
I
it.
don't know.
don't
You used to
have
have
it
yours
anymore.
set that like yeah.
Doesn't work
well,
anymore.
because it was on an old oval toilet, or no, it was on a circular toilet.
a
and then I
round
had to
one,
get
and
an
now
oval.
you have an oval one, and
Yeah.
it
and
doesn't
so it
fit
doesn't
right.
fit. I got to put it on the back. I like to having it in the guest
So
bathroom,
everybody could use
so
it.
everybody could partake.
We'll
you
put that
know?
one in your bathroom and buy a new one for
That's
the
what I'm
guest.
gonna do. That's what I'm gonna have to.
And you
do.
never need toilet paper again.
never again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the smart.
Honestly,
You
way to
gotta
go.
dry. I mean, you
People-
gotta have.
but
You gotta have that paper thin stuff though.
I bet you they have ones that are even fancier that have blow dryers.
Oh yeah,
dryers.
they
probably like
they
$100
do,
or
but they're
something.
expensive.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. Everybody thinks like when I talk about bidets, people think it's weird, but you know,
No.
America's the only place that doesn't utilize bidets like that. Most other countries love bidets, and honestly, I've used it, and I love it
think
too.
It is by far one of the smartest purchases I've ever made. I'm telling
Really?
you. Oh, yeah.
Even with it sitting there.
Even sitting
torn
there,
apart, you
I
can't use
used
it.
it for at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's
before I
great.
had to get that toilet, and I need to find a way to use
The
it.
funny
again.
thing is, our
It's
buddy
beautiful.
Neil, who has traveled a lot overseas, was the one that put us on to bidets, and we thank him because ever since it's like,
Yeah, but
you know
he
what?
also tried to tell us that taking a squat and pooping in a hole in the ground was better for you.
Technically, they say that is because that's like alignment wise, but that's why they make the squatty potty. You just buy the squatty potty.
Yeah, it just
had to be Americanized.
Yeah.
Well, it hikes your legs up.
It's like a stool. You can actually just buy.
I've seen it.
Yeah, you can just buy a step stool. That way, like you're in that squat position.
I just put my feet on the wall.
Yeah, I put my toilet's right across. Like not my toilet. My tub is right across from the toilet.
You just put it up on
I put them up on the tub edge.
Dang, man.
I was gonna say that's what I'm doing. I just like.
And then you sniff your taint.
It's just.
While you got your legs hiked all up there. Oh God.
Oh.
That's all I'm doing. You go spread eagle.
I want a squatty potty. I just never have bothered with the effort of buying one. But I do
honestly,
want one.
that's what this segment should have been about. It's just buying a bidet.
Buying a bidet.
Quit buying toilet paper.
$1 a bidet.
Go buy a bidet.
Hey.
By the time you buy 40 rolls of toilet paper, you could have bought a bidet.
Yeah.
That's
doesn't
true.
make any
A
sense.
$40 bidet is going to save you money in the long run.
Heck yeah.
Well, you just,
Well, that's the end of our show.
I got something I want to share.
Okay,
We're talking
yeah,
about
absolutely.
things you can do with,
your spare time.
You know, watch a movie.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We posed a question on one of our Facebook groups that we're a part of.
Yeah.
About movies that have kind of helped you get through a tough situation or given you hope or whatever. And I actually screenshotted some of these. And I just want to read through them real quick because this is why we do this podcast is because we love movies.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And some people, had some stupid comments, but some people really opened up and elaborated, and I appreciate that. It's the first one here. It's actually kind of funny. It's Aquaman. But this person says, Aquaman made me feel that no matter how useless you think you are, some people are dying to have you with them. While some people will love you for being you, others will hate you for the same reason. Another one was Neil will like this one. Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
This guy said, I was cheated on by my ex. The next day, I saw Forgetting Sarah Marshall in theaters. I never felt so understood in a movie. Requiem for a Dream, especially the speech by Ellen Burstyn. I think that's how you say the name. Going through depression, having Asperger, and self-loathing. So I did something about it. Meds kind of helped, but love and support from friends and family. I got married to a wonderful woman. Love my stepson and newborn. I'm fine now.
Awesome.
Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
I mean, an animated movie you wouldn't even really think of, but he said,
Inside Out.
I lost my brother a couple of months before I saw this movie on TV. It really helped me understand my grief and my anger, my feelings of being so alone in my pain. I had no friend to speak to or loved one near and dear to me in my hour of need. So the movie helped him out. The Greatest Showman. I like this one. It says, I watched it for the first time after I decided to get sober. The uplifting message through song comforted me and made me feel I could continue on my road to recovery. I mean, it's just insane how these movies.
I remember reading quite a bit of those when it got posted. And
There's
I really,
two of them for Avengers. This one's Avengers and Infinity War. It showed me.
I saw the Endgame one.
Yeah. It showed me that though we lose people we love, we still have to move on. We can't bring everything back.
Yeah.
50-50 came out around the time I got diagnosed with a brain tumor, so I was pretty. So it was pretty poignant, especially this one scene where he explains to all the people that just by saying positive things doesn't really help.
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame, my mom died 3 weeks before it was released. I was going through a deep depression and still am fighting, but Thor's story helped.
Yeah.
It was relatable, and I could feel what he was feeling, missing his mom and feeling like a failure.
I guess
I read some of these.
I guess
man.
those aren't just theme park movies
that's
after all.
Exactly right.
Exactly right.
I read through some of these, and some of the people's comments were kind of, they made fun of others people, but when we posed the question, we said, elaborate if you want. And some people did. And man, some of the stuff they said got me. Like it really did.
But that's the brilliance of cinema is that you can relate with. Yes, I mean I wouldn't say you need to don't take all of your life advice from a film. That may not be good.
No,
but at the same time,
you can pull bits and pieces of your life advice from lots of different films. Though
there are times when movies do speak truth about the human experience in general, and there are things. I mean, that is why I love certain films and why I continue to go to the movie theater is because when I'm in a dark place, sometimes films do make me feel better about my situation because I'm like, you know what? Other people are feeling the same thing I am feeling, and that's okay. Like sometimes when you feel you're alone,
that to me is part of the reason why I was making an argument for going to the theater to see some films. I mean, especially comedies. It does feel good when you're sitting in a room full of other people and you're having this moment of laughter, or even I remember even sitting there with A Star Is Born, and it would get to a quiet, somber part, and yet you didn't hear a single peep in the theater, and it's like there's this wave of emotion that's going over everybody.
It's hitting, and everybody,
that's the brilliance of
some films may seem sillier than others, but they still all I'm gonna put my sister on blast. She'll probably be mad at me, but this is funny. She hasn't seen Fate of the Furious, like the 8th one, the last one, or Hobbs and Shaw, and she wanted to watch them. So we watched them together, and I mean, to her credit, she is currently pregnant, so she has hormones and all kinds of going on. But at the end, but at the end of Fate of the Furious, the scene where all the cars encircle Dom during the explosion to keep the flames from killing him or whatever, she cried, and I'm like, I look over, I said, "Are you crying?" And she goes, "I don't know why, but I am." And I'm like, "Well, good for you." I mean,
and you know what? We're all laughing because of that experience.
Family. I mean, family. So she didn't cry during Hobbs and Shaw, but
did she not cry during Paul Walker?
Well, she's seen a lot of people. She's seen that before.
I know, but I mean, a lot of people cried during that.
She may have. I don't know. I wasn't with her when she watched
during any of those movies.
Laughter. No, but I mean, things affect people differently. I mean, there's
when you're pregnant,
but movies. I mean, they do there are movies that will get me, but way more than movies are. I think television shows make me cry way more.
Yep.
Yeah. So
well, and but to me, it's your connection, and I think that if a movie can make me feel that emotion. Hell, even Tommy Boy.
Oh yeah.
I've
never cried during Tommy Boy.
No, but the part where he's freaking, it goes to they rush over to him after he falls, and it shows them crowd over him, and then it cuts to them looking over him, and it pans out, and it's at the funeral, and then he's walking alone, and down this fall leaves or and I'm just like. It does. And he's
the end when he's on the sailboat talking to his dad.
It gets me.
The great moments. Yeah,
I mean, it's just any of those moments where. What was the latest one? Oh gosh, that got me. We went Onward. Yeah. Onward got me. Just
Onward,
anything father son. I know Sean. That's one that
those pulled at me, but they didn't make me like weep. I mean, I have like Scrubs have made me. Scrubs has made me cry. Steven Universe, which is an animated kids show, has actually made me cry. I love that show. There's other things that have made me cry.
The last one that really made me what you would consider weep, like bawling, was Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, that's
when
a good
he sees his mom hanging and it shows her shoes. I lost it. Lost it.
I didn't like huge, but I mean, yesterday you definitely pull and Blinded by the Light.
Blinded by the Light.
Father-son story. That
Yesterday.
I prefer Yesterday to Blinded by the Light, but I prefer the end of Blinded by the Light to both of them because just that end with him and his father just. Whoo, it gets me.
I think the point is, though, movies, speak to everybody, and if you got nothing to do sitting in the house because of coronavirus, cuddle up next to somebody, maybe 6 feet away.
That's social distancing on the couch.
And see where the movie takes you.
That's right. Absolutely. Movies are here.
My sister's watching with us now. I wonder if she saw that.
She hopefully heard.
I don't know.
Throw shade at her.
Yeah, I don't know if she saw, but sis, I just told the story of you crying.
You know what's funny though? If she didn't see on here, she'll be able to see.
Yes, she will.
In just a little bit on our website.
That she will.
Because I'll have the show posted, and you can check out all of our previous shows on our website at RedMoonProductions.com.
And if somebody wants to share some of their experiences with how movies have affected them or how they are interacting with their family during these times, how could they do that?
You know what? I think it's right up there on your screen, Keith.
That right there?
That's it.
Right there?
Right there.
Right in here?
RMPodcast at RedMoonProductions.com.
Huh.
How about that?
That's
Can you believe that, Sean?
That's slick.
That's slick.
That's slick.
And if you send us
slick. That's an old man word. That's slick.
Not as good as
it always makes me think of Tommy Lee Jones. What are you doing, slick? Like Men in Black? Yeah, that's I think of him because he called Will Smith slick in that. Like, yeah.
Well, I think it's Tito like a Lido. Okay,
I haven't heard that one.
He had a friend in elementary school.
Wow, Tito like a Lido.
And nobody said it but him, and I remembered it because of that.
The last cookie crumbles. Those are some far back inside jokes.
All right, guys, but that's right there at the bottom of your screen. Right there.
RMPodcast.
RMPodcast.
Productions.
At RedMoonProductions.com. So I think that's going to do it for this episode of the
I think it will.
Yep. So until next time, guys, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
So I guess
we're not going to see you at the movies.
We're not going to. Oh, no.
We'll see you in your living room.
Hey!
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.